call the meeting to order tonight at 5:02. This is our ARPA meeting, August 29th, 2022. I would like to welcome Jim to the committee.
Thank you.
We're here, you're our member at large, which is terrific. So coming in to represent the community. And tonight we have a couple things we have to review and accept the meeting minutes. Mary sent around. They're from a while ago. I think we had a quick edit on one, and then from our last meeting, July 25th, which was like that super short meeting that we had, just to change the numbers when we realized that our spreadsheet was a little off. Select board. So take a motion when somebody's ready.
I make a motion to accept meeting minutes for July 18th, 2022 and July 25th, 2022.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor? Excellent. Okay. And then at our last meeting, we were discussing how to use a little bit of that extra. I think it was about $125,000 left. And we had recommended, based on the survey, Jim, that had gone around, a lot of people in town had asked for some sort of mental health options. And we left, and Mary and I reached out to a few other towns to see what they were doing. I think Jay had an idea as well that he circulated, I think, to Mary and Evan, myself. So basically, I guess we can kind of share what we learned, Mary, and talk about ideas. I think it's true. So why don't you start, Mary, if that's all right?
Yeah, certainly. So I've reached out to an organization called Wildflower Alliance, and they have a lot of support groups. They're based out in Western Massachusetts, but they do have some groups for suicide groups. They have suicide training and community development and support and career initiatives. They were asking, what we wanted to do, what kind of mental health services. I kind of just left it generalized. I really didn't know what the committee wanted, if they wanted something, drilled down more. And I figured we could talk about that today.
Yeah, that was my experience too. So I generally also reached out. She had worked with our consultants. We had asked Jen to give us some names of people she had worked with that used ARPA funds. So I spoke with someone from Townsend who is amazing and would love to give us as much as she could. She sent along some helpful links that we could talk about. So the key program, I sent this all to you, Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, Mom Bomb. So that's a nonprofit focused on assisting moms through crisis and proactive families advocacy. So I think we probably need to kind of think about what we want. And then Jay, I know you had an idea as well. Do you want to?
So I did the same exact thing in terms of reaching out to various towns that got the monies for this. I focused more on, as opposed to going through separate organizations, what it would look like if we hired our own person to provide family counseling. Main topics we talked about. So the districts or the towns that are utilizing money in that direction, as opposed to through organizations, are spending $60,000 to $80,000 a year. They hire a town counselor. It's for families, be it school, a graphic public school family, or somebody who goes private or homeschool or what have you. Generally, the office is based not in the schools for confidentiality. They run in the afternoons into the evening to be conducive for families. They provide in-person and remote access. And what they've done, the towns that I could find, they fund either 2 or 3 years to get it up and running until, and when ARPA money is exhausted, they move towards an insurance-based kind of model, but they're at least up and running.
So it's like a town-wide council.
Yep, 100%.
So did they talk about I really like that idea. I was wondering if they spoke about any challenges hiring somebody. I know there's
I didn't, the people I talked to, two people, I forget the districts, and they weren't, I haven't written down, but they weren't like Westboro and Shrewsbury, they were further
Right.
away, and I didn't know them personally. The family counselor piece was a little easier, because they were doing it, I think the school took the lead with it. And any counselor that we have, that we hire for the schools under DESI is actually a family counselor as well, certified, so. Different schedule, a lot of differences, but it would be akin to us posting for a school counselor. We always get.
So if I may
They
ask,
are
this,
up there.
so these folks are like on an as-needed basis, then if the family is in crisis, or they're not on the clock, so to speak, they're not paying a salary, or?
I think we would,
No, we would, yeah, sounds like we would.
yeah. They did full-time.
Why would we do that? I mean, aren't there people available like on call for that kind of thing, or?
That's kind of been the problem. I can always speak to the school side, but we cover, obviously, during the school day, the wait list to get counseling outside of, in the private sector is. Sure. So that's the challenge. The ones I've talked to in 3 different towns, they did full-time, we wouldn't have to. We could do it
No, I'm
as
just- I'm
needed.
just-
We could do it
I'm just
half-time.
tossing it out there.
No, and that's, I think, you're getting a crash course in this. It only came up kind of tangentially at our last meeting, so we just on our own dove into it, but no real rhyme or reason.
And I mean, personally, just because both my kids are in counseling, it was like cutthroat to get somebody. It still is. Like I know a lot of kids who are desperate to speak to somebody, and adults as well. They just cannot find, there's just not enough out there.
Do we have a Grafton school counselor right now, or?
Well,
In
there's
the
programs,
schools, we
Yes.
definitely do, but
but it's hard, again, that's.
I think
There's a
So-
wait list.
Not that, not that any of this gets decided like tonight, but then we're setting up like, I guess, an adjunct person who's going to use that school resource as like a starting point, or are these gonna be people that are just,
I
Let me
don't
get
think
from the
this is
outside.
outside of the school.
Correct.
So this would sit in the municipal center. You're just talking, you spoke to fellow schools, because that's kind of where you're coming from. So I think it's for all of Grafton, regardless of whether they have kids in schools or kids at all who might need help. I think the difference is a lot of those on call are crisis-based people. So if I'm thinking I'm gonna kill myself, I can call a suicide hotline, or if I'm getting abused, I can call a, abuse hotline. But if I just need help, I have to go through my primary care doctor. I have to research on my own, and I have to get on this waiting list, which might still be, there might still be a waiting list, but this is offering kind of the town of Grafton an additional kind of, I guess, an additional resource.
would they set up shop, so to speak, in this building, or where would they be located?
I have no idea. What I put out is just for confidentiality, since we do use schools for basketball, evening things to see, the Erskine family go traipsing in, that's not gonna work. So what I suggest, probably this building, but a non-school location to be the office.
Right, and so it
Makes
has distanced itself, I think, from the schools, like this isn't a school position, right? This is a town position. That we're just talking about right now, and Evan's not here, and obviously, and Jim, all of our ideas go to the select board anyway, and they have to approve it, so we're just here. So that's one idea. I think the other idea is a partnership with one of the organizations, maybe. What is it, Wildflower, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
But
so
one that you had, the woman, is Mammy or?
Emily.
Yeah, but the name was
Oh.
National Alliance of Mental Health.
I wonder what they have more states.
I'm
We, as a
curious,
school district,
yeah.
partner with WIC and Shrewsbury Preventive Services, which is fantastic. But they are so overloaded that they just can't. We do a ton of, in a normal year, if you will, we would wraparound services. That's all great. Talk a good game during the school day, but they can't provide any more services. They don't have the capacity to provide it. So I wonder if those same groups listed, what they have for capacity.
Yeah, I would be surprised. if
And the
any-
money that we're talking about to fund this is 125. Right?
That's approximately what we have.
Okay.
Yeah, during that meeting, we had gone through the overall list. It was about 100 left over that wasn't encumbered in terms of the recommendation. So we were brainstorming what are things that were put on the survey results that the town was saying they wanted, but what hasn't been captured. And everything else was on the list, but mental health was big.
was huge, was big.
So it's not a large sum. So we're trying to figure out what we can. So well, I guess we could either do 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea of kind of kickstarting the program, and then at the end, then people, if it's something that they want to continue with the counselor, then their insurance can kick in. But again, I don't know how it would work. Well, I guess, yeah, I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, I've never done it. I did 2 phone
Because
calls.
if
and I
they're-
just tried
they
to get some
continue-
basic information.
Yeah, because if they continue to be a town employee, then.
We would have to somehow bill it.
Yeah, which
Or
is-
you'd have to have
that's
a
an idea,
third
which is a
party
goal.
billing,
So
it, like the
Yeah.
Medicare.
So
Yeah.
when somebody like Wildflowers says, they could help, what do they act as, like just the
That would be
the
more like
contracts-
what Shrewsbury. uses,
contract
right?
service kind of thing, or?
Outside of
They-
school, they're going through insurance.
But it seems like the wildflower looked like programming. It looked like, it was for like suicide. So it looked like it was just groups.
So it wasn't one-on-one counseling.
No, none of the
Yeah.
things from Wildflower were one-on-one. They were all group based.
And they're remote as well. right?
Yes,
And that's,
yeah.
I
That's
think for
hard.
you, our kids are roughly the same age. But
Yeah.
it's the remote thing is,
No, I will,
Is what they all
I will
hate,
be transparent. My kids are both in counseling, and remote does not work for them.
yeah, they're all,
It doesn't
it's
work.
like, you hear they say remote. they're all-
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, we have the consultants are on the
Oh,
Zoom.
good.
Hi, they can't see you. Evan's
okay.
not here today, and so all the technology is not set up accordingly. So,
No, that's okay. We can see and hear you fine. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
yep,
Okay, great.
the members just can't see you.
Okay, no worries. I'm glad to hear that Emily in Townsend was helpful. I had a feeling she would be. She's really good.
He is wonderful and her
Yeah,
position
she is.
is being funded by ARPA funds. So
Yeah.
they have done something like that where they funded a position and she was very clear. I think it's 5 years through them. And she said, my position's done in 5 years, unless they can find other funding. So she knew, and that's something that has been done by other towns, is funding. Because I know when we originally met, we talked about not using ARPA funds to create new positions because we didn't want the town to carry an extra burden of employees. But this could be something, it could really make a big difference right now, getting the town through really a crisis of mental health, I think is what we're facing, and we don't really have anything in town for people to go to, and if you don't have insurance, you can still use this.
So with this Emily, does she coordinate?
Oh,
She doesn't provide.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, I was,
There.
yeah. I was
no,
thinking,
Emily
she
is
provides
like a
services.
client service, like a
So she's not a
community
counselor.
services
Oh, right.
person. So when she was initially referred, she was described as like the senior center outreach, but she's more than that. So she
Oh.
just does community, and she put together a whole plan about what they were gonna do with their ARPA money, which I think is in the mass amount of emails, and I'm sorry, I just sent it to all of you today.
I think they're doing primarily programming there as well.
Yeah, so it's a different thing. So I think what we probably need to do is, I guess, focus a little bit and decide if we want to do programming, if we want to pursue this new counseling, or, and what was nice is they gave us resources too, like a lot of those things are free anyway, so we could certainly share to Grafton these
Right.
groups that are available through the town, and that's just a nice
Which
thing
could
that we could
be
do.
that having a counselor, they could be the ones who research this and find programs for people.
I feel like this is a little difficult without Evan here.
Yeah, so say, yeah, it would be more, yeah, because he'd have to let us know sort of how it would work.
Does anybody else have any thoughts or ideas about mental health or what we could be kind of looking?
Well, I think we're on the right track. If we somehow do it directly, if we're not paying a third party, you're gonna get a larger bang for your buck. You're gonna get more people through the system. And I would guess Grafton is what, about 16, 17,000 people. You know, whatever we do provide, it's probably gonna be one of those things where just, you know, sticking your finger in the leak in the dam. I'm sure the demand is far outweighs our ability to fund it. So I think we gotta kind of be a little cognizant of that also, so that we don't hold out a lot of false hope and, you know, there's 50 people lined outside the
Yeah, you're
door the first day that this thing is happening.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts. I guess.
I wonder if there's a way, like, you could push something out in one of your emails, Jay, like usually, I'm sure you email, the families, maybe like a survey or something, like to see if there is a need for it. Or we could even present it, like, counselor or programming, like, we can then push it back out to these families in the schools and see what they want.
But I think it has to be townwide, not just schools, right?
I don't have access to the time,
Yeah.
but
Right.
But at least doing it through the school, you get a base.
You would
I
get,
think
yes,
You know, you got
yes.
2,000,
Yeah.
how many students you guys have.
Yeah.
You know, so that-
Then we would know the need on the
I
school
can
side.
definitely do that.
We definitely have a good family. We don't get every family, obviously, but
I mean, like, what would benefit more, the one-on-one counseling or the programming? Do you know what I mean?
Just sounds like the program would be pretty expensive. You know, it's to me, we want to try to impact as broad a group as possible, as
Right.
many patients, so to speak, of as many families as possible. You know, and if we go with the program, maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're gonna find out that these programs are prepackaged and they're super inexpensive, as far as getting people. through it.
Right.
We don't know that.
Exactly.
Did they mention, like, anyone, I didn't mention any cost or anything
No.
as far as these programs.
the programming kind of overwhelmed me just
Well, there's so much
looking
of
at
it,
it,
so
there's
it's,
so much, so I haven't dug into it.
so Jay, like, when you partner up with the Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, is that how much approximately do you need?
10,000 a year, but that's not. You can't forget how many hours, but we get hundreds of hours during the school.
Yeah, no, I
The
know.
counselors are coming in working correctly. They'll offer programs sometimes, especially in a more normal year, where they'll come in for minimal cost and do a presentation.
So
on
that's
suicide
one-on-one.
or something.
That's
But
it,
the
so
bulk of what we're paying for is one-on-one in families, direct family counseling.
okay, well, that's a good starting point. I mean, just to see what-
Would they be willing to, I'm looking at their website right now, the Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, and they do nonprofit counseling and social, they do supportive services for Shrewsbury. Do you know if they travel out of town at all, like? I know they're called Shrewsbury.
They are, the one did, now I think they're beyond Grafton, but we were, because I used to work there, they offered to expand into Grafton.
Yeah.
They might, I know they're short, that's the continual
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's like U-Wink, Seven Hills, all those places, but
They're
they're
just maxed out.
And we just don't
That's the
have
problem.
anything like that in Grafton, is really
Correct.
So this is something.
I can look, I talk to them all the time, I can kind of get their thoughts on. it. Around the pandemic, you know, right now, maybe things have changed. Even getting the hours that we were contracted for was a challenge.
If you look at Emily's attachments, I believe it was the second attachment, there's like recovery coach contract. That costs $7,200. They had a Spanish American Center Domestic Violence Advocate Counseling Service. That was $7,200. That was 10 hours a week. So they have Massachusetts Access to Recovery Career Services. That was 5,000. So it doesn't look like the program is, too much money.
Yeah, no, and they had, I mean, she sent us her whole ARPA plan too, so the
I will-
wellness programming was almost $500,000.
I'll call Shrewsbury.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
And a lot of theirs was focused on addiction also, that would be which we also have a problem with that.
But you guys are doing something else at school for addiction, aren't you? Aren't you having counselors?
Yeah, and we have,
I just remember.
we
I remember
probably
Mr.
all told
Cody
that,
talking about-
I bet we have a dozen.
Because I remember Mr.
outside
Cody
agencies
talking about
coming
something that
We
they,
got a suicide program coming in this year.
The town is also receiving opioid money from the settlement too. And I don't think nothing has been decided on what is going to be spent on that money.
Okay, so I guess my next thought then is what are our next steps? So Jay, you're gonna
Get
reach out.
information from Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services.
Mary, do you want to speak with Evan or do you want me to just to fill him in on some of the ideas?
Yeah, either or. I mean, you can certainly,
do it.
yeah, talk to him.
Yeah.
I know he's out today and tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. I'll reach out to him. this
Okay.
week.
If it helps, my wife is first justice in the juvenile court in Worcester County, so I'll ask her.
That would be great.
yeah. she
Yeah,
probably
that
is.
totally helps.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I think we just need a little more focus.
What's available?
Yeah,
Truly available. I know
Yeah.
stuff that's here, but is it actually
Yeah, it's-
available?
right, exactly. And then we're gonna work on a survey, Jay, that, or
Yep, I think
do you feel like we have enough?
after Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, that's like, wow, right? They're dying to expand into Grafton and it's cost effective. Then I will do a
100% sure
survey.
I'm right. I mean.
No, you never know.
I know, I'm not.
But depending on what they say, I'll draft a survey, a
Okay.
very simplistic survey, that I'll have ready for this group to take a look.
All right, so we've been meeting monthly. Do we want to try to speed up a little bit? Do we want to do in a couple weeks rather than a month?
I would just. I mean,
Yeah.
If this is really all we're talking about.
Yeah, this is all we're talking
So-
about. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, that's great.
You kind of walked away with the most to-dos on this? Sorry.
No, that's easy. I'll let that
All right, so,
next day.
So that's like the week of the 13th.
yeah, what about like the 12th? That's too soon?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't even know. All right, and we've been doing 5 at Mondays. It usually works for people. Jen, is that?
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. No need to meet longer than we have to. So,
So could somebody do me a favor, and just send me the stuff that was already decided on, just so I know?
I think that was not in, I sent you a whole bunch of stuff. I'll look and see what I've sent you.
Okay, yeah,
and-
just, that'd
yeah.
be great, Mary. Is that the pickleball court stuff and all that, or?
yeah,
Yeah, I believe I sent that, but I'll.
I thought, yeah, I kind of looked at that, but I thought it was like still proposals and stuff. but
No,
that's-
and then I think I forwarded you some other information. I think all the meeting minutes and stuff like that, I believe I forwarded.
we have a spreadsheet. So the pickleball got a lot of press, but that's a very small amount of what our ARPA funding has funded. It just got a lot of press.
Do you have that final?
But there was a
Spreadsheet
good
that we got?
variety of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
help
Okay,
for the
that's
police,
I'll
help for the school.
I'll just send it to
We did
the
an
whole
HVAC system,
committee.
which took about half the money for our middle school. So it's a good,
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
I'll
can just,
resend it.
I don't want
Yeah.
to make any more work for it, but I don't think I got like the actual list, so. if you have
Okay,
that,
I'll send
Yeah.
that.
super, thank you.
Yeah, no
Great.
problem.
all right, anything else?
Nicole, Jennifer, did you have anything to add?
No, I don't think so. I mean, other than if you're gonna do the survey on the school side, it might make sense just to suggesting to send it out on the town side too. You can push it out through your website if you want, through your blast, and maybe have some at the senior center, just if you want to try to capture a little more.
Right, yeah, I can have
Feedback.
William down in the TA's office help with that and he
Yeah.
can set up a link and all of that stuff.
Nope, sounds like you're in great shape.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. Well, thank you all. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So,
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, have a good night.
Good night.
Everyone.
Nice to meet you,
Thank
Jim.
you.
And Jeff,
Thank you, Jeff.